Between the Pages podcast. Today we have another special episode for you today, doing Choices 5. Choices 5, which is part 2 of Choices 2. So if you remember the choices, was Choices 2?
Choices 2, yeah.
But it wasn't the double your money. That was a separate one.
Oh, that was just a fun thing we did along the way.
Yeah.
We're going to do some of that this time, though, and here, we'll do that.
So if you haven't seen those, you can go to our Choices pod. It's not a podcast, but it's the Choices playlist, and you can listen to all the Choices episodes. They all kind of go together.
Yeah, they're all related in the sense that, you know, there's seeds that you plant, and this particular series is basically talking about time and your most valuable commodity. And like we said last time, it's not that. It really is. It's not that. You know, anybody else is any better than you or smarter than you or anything like that. It's just they were probably doing something different with their time.
Yeah.
And that profits them. Okay. Yeah. And so if you're doing things that are just not profitable, there's no real benefit from them, then that's why you are where you are.
Yeah.
So,
so we're not saying profitable means you have to have a large sum of money. You can be profitable in different aspects in different ways.
Oh yeah, you can be profitable intellectually. You can be profitable
like I know
emotionally.
I just started classes, and they were like, you know, tell me in the description. They specifically were like, what are your career goals? I was like, wow, they've never asked that before, and I was like, well, I'm not planning on climbing the corporate ladder, but I like learning, and I think it's important to learn. And so my career goals aren't to be some corporate ladder person, and I said a stay-at-home mom, but I mean, eventually, you can be a stay-at-home mom and work from home nowadays.
It's like we talked about previously. The people who have careers are people like rock stars and actors and people who own their own business. Everyone else just has a job.
Yeah.
It's not a career. I mean, you can believe that it's a career if that's what you want to do. But and we'll cover some of that this time around. I mean, basically if you don't have written goals, then you're just part of someone else's goals. And so that's why they're asking you, what are your career aspirations or whatever? You know, because if you don't have goals, then you'll just be working for someone who does have goals.
Yeah.
So that's that.
So, you ready?
Yeah, there we go. So, okay, so with this, I don't know, we made this presentation back in October.
Choices 2?
Choices 2, back in October, November, right before Thanksgiving. We put it together in October and presented it in November. And, you know, silver was trading somewhere around $52 a share or an ounce. And so, you know, we were talking about the 1964 quarters. And if you were being paid in 1964 quarters, your hourly wage...
It was right in November. I remember that. Yeah.
So if you were being paid in 1964 quarters, thank you. Your wage would be much higher than it is today. And so because of that, you know, there's a concept that, you know, you're supposed to take whatever it is that you've been given and you're supposed to use it. You're not supposed to just hide it under a bushel or bury it in the ground or whatever. If you're a Christian. And so, you know, but a lot of people do that. They are afraid. And so because of that, they miss opportunity. So, like I said, it's not that you're destined to be poor or and it's not like, say, just money. It can be a lot of different things, but you have to actually study or inquire or seek, that kind of thing, in order to improve yourself. So
you know, it does this like every time. We have to figure out where it wants to be. There we go.
It's hung up. Okay, so the agenda for today is, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about what is money and what is time and what is value. And so, you know, those are all subjective, really. I mean, some people would consider, a cryptocurrency to be money. Some people would consider dollars, like fiat money, to be money. Some people believe like real um, hard currency, like silver, gold, or copper. Those are
Yeah.
money. Okay, and then what the concept of time? Time is just a kind of something we put together to bring order
Yeah.
to daily events, or
Which we were talking about recently. I don't know if it was in a podcast or just in general conversation. There's that one country or town where they don't even have time
right.
at all. They've got, when you get on the island or whatever, you get rid of your watches, hang them on the bridge, and
Yeah.
there's no clocks. You just go, and it's one of those places where it's like the sun is up 24 hours a day for so
Yeah,
long.
you get hungry, you eat.
Yeah.
You get tired, you go to sleep. And you want to go do something, you go do it. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and it's that. So time here is a 24-hour
Yeah.
period,
But it's
but
also just something people made up.
well, it had to bring some order to things.
Yeah.
If you're telling somebody, "Well, I'll meet you tomorrow,"
Yeah.
well, what does that mean? What do you mean
Oh,
meet
yeah.
you tomorrow? Where,
Even,
I know where, but when? Okay,
yeah.
well, when the shadow is, 3 foot long or
Well,
something.
and even the Eastern and all the different times, because I was supposed to meet someone at 5 o'clock, and I was there at 5 o'clock, and then it was 6 o'clock, and they were like, "Where are you at?" And they're like, because it was right on the border of Central and
Yeah.
Eastern. And I was like, well, I was there at 5 o'clock. And they're like, no, I got off work at 4 and I headed over.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Well, and that's the whole thing. That's why they came up with time zones and things of that nature. But even within time zones, the angle of the sun is different. I
Yeah.
mean, the people who are on the far eastern part of the time zone, it'll already be dark where they are.
Well, even the different levels, because there's times down in Georgia the sun has gone down
Yeah.
and then it's still here. It's
Right.
because we're so high up on the mountain.
Or the angle of the
Yeah.
tilt of the earth or whatever. And so it depends upon the season. So that's why they came up with all that type of thing. And so, but what is time? And so, basically, time is the commodity that you have on this earth.
Yeah.
And I guess it wouldn't matter if you were on the moon or on Mars or some other planet, if that were possible. Then that the time there would be what it is, and it would not most probably be the same as it is here.
Yeah.
And so even then, if you were talking to someone about Earth time or Mars time or lunar time or something of that nature, they could be different. And so all of that would be something that need to be worked out. But for us, time is a commodity.
Yeah.
We take our time and we trade our time for something. And and that enables us to go the places we want to go, buy the things we want to buy, eat the foods, wear the clothes, whatever. You exchange that money that you exchanged your time for some service or some good. And so then the question becomes, well, what is value? What is what you're spending your time doing, is it really of value?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's all subjective, really, because some of the activities I see people do, like making potholders or something, I'm like, well, yeah, that's fun, but I don't know if I want to do that. But they're like that's important to them to do that. So it's like, okay, fine, and you can apply that to anything. Okay,
Yeah.
and so these are all things that you as a person, these would be things that you would need to determine. But I put this scripture in here from Matthew because most Christians know about the ten virgins, and 5 of the virgins were kind of foolish in their behavior. They didn't have plenty of oil. They didn't have their wicks trimmed, and the bridegroom came. They wanted to borrow money or oil from the people who had it, and they're like, we can't give you our oil. The bridegroom might show up, and we won't have any. And so they had to leave and go get more oil for their lamps. Well, they verily, sure enough, bridegroom showed up, and the five foolish virgins were left out. And so that's the thing. You got to determine how to spend your time. If you're just carelessly going through life without direction, without goals, without whatever, then you're probably going to wind up in a situation of your own making that is not what you desired.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this presentation is an attempt to help a person, a group of people, whatever, to change the way they think and focus their efforts in another direction. Now, if you don't find it to be necessary or interesting, well, okay, keep on doing what you're doing, or go find someone else and listen to what they say. Okay, so it's that. So, by way of introduction, I just had to tell you, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. And I don't know why you have to do that, but I guess some people may say, well, so and so told me to do this and all that, and so that's just a disclaimer. There's probably more that needs to be there, but this is good enough, I think. So recently, there's been a whole lot of market volatility, and stocks keep hitting records. Gold and silver are going higher and higher, and if you just put your money into some instrument and let someone else manage it for you, well, okay, if that's what you're comfortable doing, okay. I was not that person. I want to know, I want to see the people I hand a check to. I want to know the people I'm giving my money to. I want to know if they know their ropes, so to speak, if they know what they're actually doing. But if you're comfortable with that, hey, more power to you. Good luck, and I hope it works out. But like we talked about in the beginning, what is a job? Okay, I mean, most people are like, have careers. Like your school is like, what are your career aspirations? Well, the people who have careers are people who like are, pro football players or sports figures or people who own, entertainment companies or are entertainers or things that they have careers. But most often, what people are, they're just in a job. And the definition of a job is, the person that owns that business is just going to pay you enough money, basically, to make you come back on Monday morning. And if you found someone who would pay you more to do the same job, depending on what there's a lot of other factors that go into that, you just go to work somewhere else. And so if they got wind that you maybe were going somewhere else, well, they might give you a step up in salary or something to keep you around because they don't want to retrain someone else or whatever. But eventually, if it gets to the point where you're being paid, compensated high enough, they may just say, yeah, good luck and hire someone else. And so it's basically a job is a just over broke situation. You're just going to be paid enough to stay above water. And here recently, that's gotten more and more difficult to do. Everything costs more. Energy prices are higher. Fuel prices are okay for now, but I don't know how long they can stay at the level they're at. And wages aren't keeping up.
Yeah.
And it's not that people don't make a good wage. It's that the thing that they're being compensated with, the fiat money, well, it's being debased. It's losing its value. And so that's what you're seeing in all of this market volatility is you're seeing, oh, the value of the dollar is continuing to decline.
Yeah.
So, one of the things you have to do is you have to ask. And so we covered this quickly last time, but this time it's a little different. One of the instructions is to hear, O Israel, you have to be listening. And I call it the zero commandment because everybody knows the 1 through 10, but this is one it's in It's in
kind of in between the lines.
it's into the indicative mode. There's imperative mode, which are a bunch of shalls, but this is one that's just a statement, like turn on the light. Okay, it's not a command. It's just more of a, oh, you're standing there. Can you do that? Well, it's saying listen. And so if you're listening, are you developing a plan? And so last time we covered some areas like, oh, okay, this is what you would need to do. This is how you would lay it out. This is why you would want to do it, getting a better education, so on and so forth. But we kind of left it there.
Yeah.
We didn't go into a whole lot more detail about, what, well, thanks a lot, Jimmy. What do I do now? And so this time we're going to try to answer some of that. The other thing is, are you taking any type of action at all? If, and it can be complicated, it can be difficult, and it can be like, oh, it's just, I don't know what to do, kind of thing. But, not doing anything is still a decision.
Yeah.
And so you're basically choosing no action. And so if you do something, well, that's one thing. If you don't do something, well, that's another situation altogether. But you can't say, well, I'm not going to do anything, because
you're still doing something.
You're doing something.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do I change? It's the same old, ask, seek, knock.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing that, then you'll get answers.
Yeah.
But you have to actually want to seek out answers.
Yeah.
Throat gets a little dry, y'all. Okay, so excuse me. So meet Kate and Buck. We met them last time, and we'll cover this quickly. They're just out there playing around. They're not even aware of situations coming down on them. And basically, we talked about the fact you have 4,000 weeks. Some a little more, some a little less. But on average, most people live 4,000 weeks. And, that's the time that you have. And, some people would equate that to a talent. But, biblically, a talent was something a little more than that. It was actually a measure of value, of money. And we looked it up. What do we come up with? As 100, or it ranged from 100 to 500,000 to even close to $1 million.
In today's money.
In gold was how they measured a talent. But some people, I've heard them equate a talent to, well, what is your God-given gift, or what is your ability, or what, as that is a talent. But biblically, they were talking about money. Okay. So Kate and Buck, they're just having fun. They don't care. And so the last time we were here, we did a little mini podcast. We talked about how you could double your money.
Yeah.
And
which I also turned into a blog on the website. So you can read about it or go watch it.
Yeah, this is basically, y'all, this is the government's gift to you. I mean, because the content of the nickels is twice the value of the content is twice what the face value is, which is 5 cents. And so there takes 11 cents worth of material just to make them. And so I put this $10 bill in there. It came to me in my change. I'm interested in money, okay, as when it comes into my hands. And this particular one has a 4854 serial number, which is a repeater, okay. And so you get these in your currency all the time. Well, this particular $10 is actually worth more than $10 to a collector, okay, and it would come to you in your spare change, at a gas station. But what we demonstrated is that the $10 is actually, if you take it down and get $10 worth of nickels, it's actually worth $20. And I like this little $20 bill because, well, it has my initials, and then it has 10977777, which I think is kind of a neat little number. But yeah, that came to me in my change along the way. And so I kind of pull these pieces of money out and hold on to them. But that's a poor man's way right now. Something easy you can do to double your money. Okay, and so like I said before, this one has the repeater serial number. Uh, $10 is basically the equivalent of this 20 over here, and then the serial number in it is as usual. But the $10 in nickels is not equal to the $10 in fiat money. Okay. Okay. So the 1964 quarter, that was what we talked about last time, and so the 1964 quarter is basically that you got paid $1.25 an hour. So this would be 1/5 of that. And so in the last presentation,
it wasn't like $1.25 because it was real money.
Yeah, well, it was $1.25.
Yeah,
but when we got a chart that's going to cover some of that, some of the quarter hasn't changed in value, and it hasn't changed in silver content, unless you got one that's really circulated and worn down. What's changed is the dollar, the money, the fiat money is what's changed. Yeah. Okay, and just like with the nickels example there, it's not that the money the nickel is different than it always has been. It's just that the content of it is worth a lot more. Okay, and so that's what's happened to the 1964 quarter. In the trade that went down on Monday, and this is the reason why we're doing this, is because basically when we presented this last time, the value of $1.25 worth of quarters was $52. Yeah. Now, as of yesterday, and even today, still it's 104 plus.
But you're not getting it. I'm trying to like make it simpler for simpler people.
Yeah.
It's like
you're not getting
it. If you had $1.25, right, in quarters,
silver quarters.
Yeah, the silver quarters, the ones 1964 before, and you went to the store and bought $50 worth of groceries and gave them that $1.25. That's what it's.
Yeah, but they won't accept. They're going to say, "Look, you're going to have to put back $49 worth of groceries because this is only worth $1."
But it used to be able to, because it was backed by silver originally. The dollars were backed by silver, so you used to be able to do that. Yeah, we get to later. But some people don't know that. They don't realize that there was all the different crashes and things along the way.
Yeah.
Where the dollar was originally backed by gold and silver, and then it became the petrodollar, and it's backed by oil, and it just kind of spiraled out after that.
But basically, also, is the dollar was backed by real hard currency, silver or gold or something of that nature. And like you say, now it's backed by, but it's fiat money.
Yeah.
And the life cycle of fiat money is about approximately 40 years. And so we're on borrowed time with our money, our currency, because in 1974, we went off the gold standard. Nixon took us off. And that's been about 70 years or so, somewhere around there. And so 50 years. And so we're a little bit overdue for our currency to be either replaced by some other currency or having to be revalued in a new baseline set. And so who knows what's going to. I'm not predicting any of that, but
that's what we're meaning when it's like, this is how much it's worth, because there was a time when you could go do that. You could go to the store with your $1.25 worth of stuff and get that equivalency in items.
So what we have here is used to be, like what Sarah's talking about, it used to be that the dollar that you carried around was a silver certificate. Yeah. And it was payable to the bearer in demand with silver. Now, I collect currency as a numismatic type thing. And this particular $1 bill really today is only worth $1.
Yeah.
I mean, if you took it to the store, that's all they're going to give you for it.
Is this that blue one that I found?
No, you found a red note. But the thing is that was $5. But the thing is this is a star note.
Yeah.
Okay, like a star note is this particular silver certificate is kind of a special one in a sense because the first printing of it there was some type of error, so they destroyed all
So
that currency.
funny. There was a blue one when I found those, and the other girl took the blue. Neither of us knew what we had.
Okay.
Obviously, I was like, sure, I'll take the red one. You can have the blue one. But now, no, once I've learned about money, I'm like, oh, I know what a silver certificate is.
The
I
thing
can't
is,
believe.
it's only worth $1. You know,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's only worth
however,
$1 now.
well, that's all the grocery
Yeah.
store or anyone else is gonna.
Yeah.
They're not gonna do. Now, a collector might give you more for
Yeah.
it, but they'll give you more for this one because it's a star note.
Yeah.
Because not only did it survive had to be reprinted, and so it's a survivor from that, but it survived being circulated. And all the other star notes that probably were in the sequence of this are long gone.
Oh, yeah.
They've been destroyed, or they're in somebody's attic somewhere or something. But used to be, you could take this silver certificate here, and that Morgan over there, you could go down to the bank. It's a silver certificate payable to the bearer in silver. And it was a star note, so it's a collectible. But in the good old days, it was equal to 1 ounce of silver. So you could go to the bank and you could present this piece of paper, and they would give you a Morgan, or they would give you a peace dollar, or they would give you whatever dollar denomination silver was in circulation at the time. So I just picked these two examples because that's what I have. And so what it took to make those is a mystery because I can't find any information on it. But one thing I can assure you is you cannot do that today. You cannot take a $1 silver certificate, walk into the bank, hand it to them, and get a 1 ounce silver coin back. Okay, and the reason for that is it's going to take about 99 more of those $1 bills to do that. Okay, so today what we have, and this is a $1 bill that came to me in my change. It's kind of a relatively low serial number. It doesn't have any digits up front other than zeros. I got one time. It wasn't a star note, but it was like 4 zeros, 1968. Okay, and so I asked the lady at work. I said, "Anybody know somebody born?" She said, "My daughter's born in 1968." I said, "Well, here, take this $5 and give it to her, and don't spend it." Because it had her birth year on it. And the odds are that you're going to run into that in your lifetime is pretty slim.
I've never seen one. I've never even seen one with 4 zeros in front.
Yeah, well, they're out there.
And I used to count tills, and I would look through like hundreds of dollars every day. So
well, most times when that happens, if they go into circulation, people get them out.
Yeah.
Okay, but this particular dollar bill, a paper dollar, takes about 15 cents to make. I couldn't find anything that told me how much a Susan B. Anthony or an Eisenhower dollar, how much it took to make those. Okay, but the Eisenhower dollars did have some amount of silver associated with them, so they have a value there. But the Sacagawea dollar is like 10 cents to make one of those. And so it's cheaper to make one of those than it is to make a dollar bill paper. But so that just kind of tells you the value of the currency that you may actually run into out there in the world. It's cheap for the government to make it, but the only value it has is what people believe that it has. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, this has a low serial number. Okay. So as of, I think it was yesterday sometime, it was trading at 102. It went up to 117 or 18, and today it's at 108. But silver's on a tear, y'all. And so, like I say, this silver certificate here is not equal to this dollar. They're not the same dollar, okay? And that dollar is not equal to this one over here. Now, this particular silver dollar actually says on it $1. But it's legal tender. You could take this Walking Liberty silver dollar into a store and buy a dollar candy bar if you wanted to, and they would take it in exchange. But its value is much more than the $1 that's inscribed on it. And I put this in here because the nickels are more valuable than the 5 cents that's printed on them. Okay, and so that's the same thing that's going on here. This silver dollar is not this. the silver dollar is not equal to that dollar.
Yeah.
It's not equal to that $1 paper dollar. Okay, and so
because the material it takes to make it is more.
The content of the metal that's in it is of greater value, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But the reason that the silver dollar is worth $100 is not that the silver dollar has gone up in value. The silver dollar is still $1. It's what it is. What the problem, if there is a problem, is the dollar has gone down in value.
Yeah.
And so it takes more of those dollars to buy what used to buy 1 ounce of silver. That silver certificate over there, you could take it and you could get $1 worth of silver, a silver coin at the bank. You can't do that anymore. What it is now is you have this dollar that not equal to the silver dollar, but what is equal is the $100 over there. That Benjamin Franklin dollar, and I this one came to me and changed too, and I took it out because it in my mind it's close to a repeater. It has 2 zeros, and then it has a 5-4, which is and then it has a 5-4, which is a repeater, and then it has 7-7, which is a repeater. And so it's kind of an interesting little. It would have been more fun if it would have been a 0054 5400. That would have been a radar backwards and forward, or a 0054 0054. But I kept it. But the thing is, and I think that's like a $2006 or something. They got more counterfeit features on them now. The silver dollar is equal to the $100 on the right now, not the $1 that's on the left. And that's because the currency has been debased. The value of the paper money has been diluted. And it's diluted in a lot of different ways, but usually the most effective way to do that is through when they have these little economic situations, they reinflate the economy by printing more dollars. And unfortunately, you can't print more silver. And so I put this in here. I got my first pile of cash, if you will, January 4th, 03. I mean, not January, July 4th for Independence Day. So I did a red, white, and blue shirt and printed and everything. That was 03. Well, that value that I had at that time has shrank. And so this shrank down to the point where it's like practically not there anymore. And so the thing is it's not in your best interest to take the money that you have today and sit on it.
Yeah.
You need to do some type of investment. Whether you go out and you purchase a silver coin or you purchase real estate or something, it should be something that would appreciate in value. Now, I agree, there's some things you just can't substitute for. I mean, a good meal with friends and a good restaurant and an environment or something of that nature, something you'll treasure forever. But those, just like a college education or something, you can't take your diploma, walk into the aisle at the grocery store, put in $200 worth of groceries and say, well, here's my diploma. I paid $20,000 for it, They're going to look at that and go, no, that's not a medium of exchange. And so you just have to think about, what am I spending my time on? What am I spending my money on? And then the question that really comes to play in mind is this. Where are we headed? I got that $10 or 10 real thing, Venezuela note or whatever it is, in the mail. Somebody sent it to me, soliciting money from me. And the question is, I mean, they just continue to debase their currency and debase their currency and debase their currency to the point where, I mean, it would take millions of these just to, buy a soda or a loaf of bread or something. So, I mean, where's the dollar headed? Hopefully it's not headed there. But that's the question. The question is, where is the dollar headed to? What do you want to be?
Well, and that's what we were talking about too. It's not like they raise your paycheck when that happens.
Oh,
so
no.
You're spending $200 to get one soda, or you're still only getting $10 an hour.
Yeah. Oh, and so there's been all fiat currency, if anybody knows of an example where this hasn't happened, but all fiat currency eventually collapses.
Yeah.
Because the people who manage the fiat currency realize, oh, we can just print more.
Yeah.
And then once they start to do that, well, then it's like to me it's like opium, okay, and that stands for other people's money, opium. And so the thing is, it's like a drug to them.
Yeah.
And they print more of it, and you're the one who feels it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they just raised your taxes and you didn't even know it, because it costs more to buy things, costs more to go places, everything's more expensive, and you can't figure out why. Whereas they can't print more hard currency. And so the question is, hopefully that's not where this is headed, but uh, there are people who in some of these countries would refuse to go to work because the amount of money it took for them to get to work, by the time it turned around to get home, it was more. To ride a bus or ride a train or do anything. So eventually you get to the point where you just can't, you just don't.
Like whatever.
So that's the question. What are we going to do? And so the question for us is, are you still waiting? I mean, you got to think about what are you doing? I guess that's a strategy. I mean, for me.
Well, some people don't even know.
No,
they don't even. Well, I mean, and they might realize, oh, why is stuff more expensive? But they don't even realize.
Yeah, they know. They just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Yeah. So the thing is, so last time we presented, $54 or $52 silver, and the question is, did you double? Did you do anything?
That was in doubling your money.
Yeah, we
not in choices. Was it in choices?
Well,
too?
The question is, this is the double your money aspect of choices too. Okay, and so we're going to cover that real quick. This is what it was in 1964, and this is the presentation that we made last time. 11, 25, 25. 5 quarters. It's worth $52. It's $12.77 an hour in equivalent money, which we know is not necessarily true, and whatnot. And so I'm saying watch this date up here, because when I'm clicking on this chart, it kind of changes, but you don't really notice. Okay, and so this is today's 1964.
Yeah.
Yesterday, 1/26/26. Wife's birthday, by the way. A great day. Silver went over $100. Went to 104, went to 117 or whatever. And so the question is, if you'd have bought silver back in November, it would be double.
Yeah.
I mean, November, December, and not even hardly any of January. I guess most of it, but.
But it was the end of
2 months.
It was November 25th to December 25th is 1 month, and December to January is the second.
The 26th happened to be a Monday. It could just easily have been the 25th, and it would have been 2 months to the day, right? And so, but the thing is that's what happened. And so the question is, what did you do? And the question remains is, what are you going to do? I mean, it shows no signs from my perspective of slacking off. But anything, the way all these things work is, there's a run up, and then by the time people figure out what's going on, it's a little too late, and everybody tries to get in, and then there's a fallback. And so we're going to cover a little bit of that. The price of silver over 100 years here. I mean, just to give you kind of a backdoor 2020 hindsight kind of thing. Okay, so, but, just if you think about it, okay, you would have made back in the previous example, I think it was like $12. Now it's $16 is the equivalent hourly wage, inflation wise, based upon.
It's always so interesting. I know this is a little off topic, but even when they do those little, we raised minimum wage, or we raised, whatever, the base price, they don't raise everybody else, know? Like if the minimum pay was $10 and you're making $16, and they go, we're going to raise everybody's pay to $12, they raise all the people making 10 up to 12, but they don't give the 16 person $2 extra.
Yeah, well, you think about this. It's exactly what you say. If you're the kind of person you're sitting out there, and you're making $100 an hour, you're basically making the equivalent of $1.
Yeah.
In 1964 money.
Yeah.
Wow, $1 silver is what you're working for.
Which is why people are doing two jobs.
Yeah, some people working 3 jobs.
Yeah, there's people like wives working 2 jobs, husbands working 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Just to make ends meet.
And this is not what was intended.
No.
And that it's only going to get
more. You can only do that for so long.
Yeah, it's only going to get more interesting. And so here you go. You see, 1964 quarters. That's $104. We just picked that number because that would be double 52. What we presented in the previous chart. But actually today I think it's trading close to 108, 110 or something. And so for 8 hours, you get approximately $800. And then for a week, assuming you work 5 days, which I work 6, $4,000 for the week. I think you could afford groceries at that kind of money, And so the thing is you can take the money that your boss or whoever is paying you and go down and trade it for silver, and you'll get back. I mean, say if you went down there and traded the $100 you made today, saying when you made $100 for silver, you'd get 1 ounce.
Yeah.
And it would be worth $1.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it doesn't work the other way, where you go, well, hey, I worked, I did a 1 ounce of silver wage work for you. Where's my $100 for the hour? Where's my $800 for the day? It's all not in your favor.
Yeah.
Okay. And so as long as you're willing to put up with that, then, hey, more power to you. So this is our little granddaughter hands, meet my model kind of thing, 800, 1600, so on and so forth, all the way across. I work 6 days. I always work 6 days. I believe you should tithe. I believe a tithe is not 10%. I believe it's 20-something percent. But I don't believe it has to go to a church. I believe it can go to a food kitchen, help people, go next door, buy a truckload of paint your neighbor's house. I mean, I don't think it has to go to an organized group in order to be a tithe. As a matter of fact, I'm not even really sure that a tithe is something that's required per se. If you want to do a grace offering, I think that's more appropriate. And then you got to pay your debts and you got to pay your taxes. And so you're going to have a bunch of money left over to pay debts and taxes with. And so that's my model. And that's the model I work to. And so last time we talked about the plan for prosperity. And I'm not going to go over all this because we already went over this. But this time what we want to do is talk about the plan for stability. And so, what you should be asking yourself, well, what is my current income? How much do I currently make? And if I keep on doing what I'm currently doing, how much will I be making 5 years from today? And most people can calculate that. They can calculate that in their head. They can go, okay, yeah, if I stay where I am, I'm going to get this percentage increase per year and bonuses and whatnot. And in 5 years, this is what I'll be making. And so the question you got to ask yourself is, well, is my salary going to keep pace with the cost of living? Most likely, no. And so you're going to need to have either work 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or you're going to have to diversify. And so the thing is, if you could pick an income, I always like this question when you ask people, if you could pick an income, what would that look like? And there's been the rare exception when somebody said, well, I'd like to make a lot less money I'm making now. Okay, fine. But in general, most people say, I want to make this much. And it's always more than what they're making now or what they would be making 5 years from now. And what you have to ask yourself is, why is that? Why is it that if you could pick an income, it's more than because you know what you're worth?
Yeah.
Or you know what it takes to help make you live and survive. And so it's just, once your mind has been expanded like that, then it basically doesn't want to shrink back to where it was before, to this small income that I
Yeah, I
had.
said that recently because it's like when you first start out, you have this small little apartment, little lifestyle,
Right.
little paycheck,
Yeah.
and then as you grow, and I mean even watching other people, it's like as you grow, you get a bigger house. You get the bigger car, you get all the
Yeah.
things that you wanted when you
Yeah.
didn't have a lot, but then all of those things add so many more bills.
Yeah.
And so even though you earn more money, you you still don't have
Well,
anything
yeah.
because you have all the things.
Well,
And so
yeah, and
it's like,
I've
can
rented,
you
I've moved around the whole country. I've been from coast to coast. So I've been almost every state, and I've had to rent in some of those places, and other places I've bought real
yeah,
estate. And so when the rent time comes due, and it's the lease is up, well, you just leave,
yeah,
and they have your money, and they have the building, and all that kind of stuff. Guess what? That's a job. At
yeah,
the end of the day, a job is similar to rent. Everything that you do for that company, the people that are in charge, is equivalent of rent because at some point you're going to leave that place. You're either going to retire or you're going to go to work somewhere else or some other event's going to happen. You relocate to a different state. Something happens and you leave that company. Well, all of the work that you do for them stays.
yeah,
Whereas if you own your own business, you own it.
yeah,
You own but there's more risk associated with it, and you have to work more. You can't just call in sick when you don't feel like going in or whatever. But the, the point I was wanted to attempt to make, and you made a good point about how as you
well,
go,
people get more and then they get more bills per se. And
yeah,
so then they still don't ever get
yeah.
anywhere.
But the difference between living in an apartment and living in a house is they're not the
Oh,
same.
yeah.
Your mortgage payment is going to be bigger, but you're going to build equity.
Yeah.
Whereas paying rent, you just,
Yeah.
somebody else cuts the grass and fixes the plumbing if something goes wrong or whatever else, whatever. But the thing is it's like the dollar. When asking someone, if you could pick an income, they're it's usually bigger than what the current salary is that they're making. And so their mind expands to think, oh, I can earn more. Well, it's the same with the dollar. Every time there's some kind of economic situation, they print more money. So they expand the monetary base. The value of the money goes down. Prices go up. Things eventually stabilize, but the prices never come back down.
Yeah.
They never come back down to where they were before, at least not in my experience. There may be, you could buy bubble gum or something for a nickel, and after the crisis, you could probably still buy it for a nickel or something. I don't know. But, in general, most things don't come down. And so,
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Even if in that previous one, even if your employer went, oh, I'll pay you $4,000 a week to
right,
do, the equivalent of technically like $16 an
right,
hour, they're just gonna raise the prices of their product.
right.
So then anyone who's shopping there, it's gonna be so high that they'll probably go somewhere else.
Yeah, but the thing with real money, with silver money, you can't print more of that.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that you don't have a lot of pricing power as a a retailer to bump up the price of something when the value of the silver is steady and
Yeah.
strong. You're just going to wind up not being able to do that. And so that's the question. Will you get there with whatever it is you're doing now? If you could pick an income and you could earn more money, would you get to where you want to be? And most likely, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. And nothing's going to change. And so you got to find a different vehicle. And so there's nothing wrong with a job. A job is a great way to survive, great way to pay your bills, but you should be looking at how can I diversify? And uh, you got to think about vehicles, okay? Cars, planes, boats. Now, and the example I always heard was, either a Corvette or a Ferrari or something like that. Those are really nice automobiles. I mean, they're pretty sporty, and lots of people, they aspire to owning one of those. And it's a great vehicle if you're going to go from like point A to point B. But if you want to go across the ocean, well, they don't float.
Yeah.
So it's not the best vehicle for going across the ocean. And so you'd have to get yourself a boat, a ship, if you will. Well, a ship is not necessarily the best vehicle to get you to the moon unless it's a spaceship. So if you take the Queen Mary or something, you try to launch it into space and travel to that, it's a mighty fine ship. It's a mighty fine for the purpose that it has, but it's not getting you where you want to go. And so the thing is do you want to walk? You want to run? You want to swim? You want to drive, fly? How do you want to get where you're going?
Yeah.
And you may have to have combinations of all of that. If you want to earn more money and you're going to have to diversify because you're going to need to, and it's like anything, uh, a stool, a 3 or 4-legged stool.
I always give that example, except I use a table.
Yeah, it's more stable on 4 legs. So that way, most people have a husband, have a wife. Wife's working 2 jobs, husband's working 3 jobs, like your previous example. But basically, that's it. And so if either one of them loses a job, now you're down to one.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really unstable. It's not, you're on the cusp of financial problem.
Yeah.
And so the thing is you have to somehow develop a discipline where you create multiple income streams. And, stocks are a good investment for doing that. Savings, it's highly recommended that you have at least 3 to 6 months money in the bank.
Yeah.
For whatever comes along.
Yeah.
And like I said before, if that's a stretch for you, well, then start out small with at least a month.
Yeah.
And that way you at least, because you don't know, there are
at
people.
At least a week. I know people. I know people who live. I don't know how it's very. I couldn't imagine. Very stressful, but they just live. They're like waiting for that next paycheck because they don't have a single dollar.
Yeah.
And.
Oh, when I was young and single, back when I first started working and stuff,
I used to do it all the time.
I got a paycheck, and by Tuesday, Wednesday, I was out of money. But payday was Thursday, so I was okay, And so, but I was working.
I don't know how people.
I was working for $4.25 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was a lot of money back then, really. But no, and so, but yeah, I was single. A dozen eggs and a loaf of bread.
Well, like I told Mama, I was like, it's really interesting because when we were kids, we had chores and we got paid. We didn't get an allowance. We had to work and do our chores and then we got paid.
Yeah.
But we got paid once a month.
Yeah.
And so I've always been at least a 1 month track. And then spreading out as I grew older into 3 months, having 3 months set aside, 6 months set aside. But always at least 1 month because we would get paid at one point in the month and you had to make it all the way until the next month before you got anything.
Yeah, you had parents who taught you that.
Those ones.
Yeah, but some people don't have that. And so what they do is they learn the hard way.
They get paid weekly and have to live weekly.
Right. And they learn life is a cruel taskmaster.
Yeah.
Life does not cut you any slack. And so what you have to do is you have to figure out how can I diversify what I'm doing to create multiple income streams. And that's not for me to do.
Yeah.
What my thing is like...
Because everybody's different. You might be able to do something. You guys might be able to do something that we don't even know about.
Yeah. I took a lot of money. I bought real estate. And, my manager, I was talking to her. And I said, well, I just walk in there, look in the mirror and go, self, you need a raise.
Yeah.
And I look back at myself. Yeah, you deserve a raise. Self, I think I need this much. Yeah, you do. And okay, make it happen. Yeah. And then I just go out and raise everybody's price and get a raise.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of weird, but that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
There are people out there who go, we need more money. Well, let's just raise the price of groceries.
Yeah.
Let's just raise the price of gas. Let's just raise the price of clothing. We need more money. It's not.
Well, and that's great. And I just want to, Because there's going to be people out there that are like, well, I can't afford that. And there's the other way of, oh, one person has 3 jobs, and I did that. I did that when I first started out, and it was like I had all, car payment and all of these different things you have to pay for, and I had 3 jobs. And that's really hard because you're basically working nonstop from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day.
Well, rent and a car, I kind of get it. You need a car, you need to have a payment. I mean, if you can pay cash for a car, that's good. But you need a car to get back and forth to a job, just over a broke situation, so you can earn
Well,
money.
and I also was kind of like, I didn't like the week to week. I was trying to build a savings and set stuff aside. So I wasn't working 3 jobs to pay my bills. I was working 1 job to pay my bills and 2 jobs to save money.
Yeah.
But you can only do that so long.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is that, in the system that you're currently in, credit cards are not a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Because they're fun up front because they're low interest or no interest, but
for the first year.
And then they go 23, 24, 25% interest, and you're in debt, and debt will make a slave out of you.
Yep.
You will become a slave to it. And so if you can manage your credit cards are a good thing. You charge things, you pay it off. Charge things, you pay it off. It's a good thing. But if you can't do that, then you become where you're managing the debt. And that's what's happened to our government. The debt on the interest on the national debt was over $1 trillion last year. $1 trillion with a T. And it's greater than the defense budget for the country. For all the money we spend on soldiers, airmen, Marines, and thank y'all, by the way, for your service, and all the equipment that goes with the aircraft and everything, ships, whatever, all of the things we buy and build and whatnot, the interest on the debt was more than that.
Yeah.
And that's unsustainable. Sooner or later, something's going to have to give. And so the question is, do you want to be in that debt-based system like that? I don't know that that's a good place to be. The Great Depression, that's exactly what, it made paupers out of a lot of people. And so the economic stability is not all that.
It's not in your favor.
Yeah. And so we have big recessions and we have minor recessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just a question of which one are you going to be in. In my career, I've seen about 8 of them, big ones and little ones. And from what I hear, the big one, I haven't experienced that yet. So, hopefully that's not going to happen.
Talking about the Great Depression?
No, the one that's coming.
Oh, the one that's coming. Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah, the one that's coming is going to be a huge economic situation. Yeah, it's going to. If you're stuck in the dollar system, I pray for you. I really do. It's not going to be pretty. And so, you need to have money on hand for emergencies, and you need to have money on hand to be able to help to give to charities. But then the thing is, well, how do I do all that? So this is what I did. I'm a goal focused person. I read the book Success the Glenn Bland Method. It's an awesome book. I don't even think it's in print anymore. Boy, y'all, I spent a whole $4.99 on that book, and the next one next to it, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success Through Selling. I spent another $5 on that one, so $10 worth of books, and I was on the road to success. But the thing is for most people, life is something that just happens. Like you were talking about earlier, they didn't have anyone teach them about money. They didn't know anything about financial stuff, and so it's just something that happens.
And then once it happens, then they're like, oh.
Yeah, not any way out. And so, where are you? Where do you fit?
Yeah.
Is life something that's just happening to you? Do you want to be different? Okay, well, this is what I found. I know how you feel. This is what I feel the same way, but this is what I found. I found that there's about 85% of people don't have any written goal at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask them,
they don't.
Ask the man on the street, lady on the street, whatever, and I don't know. I don't know. Nothing. And so, you know what those people are? Those people are employees. and work for someone else. Okay, that's what they are. If you don't have goals, you're working for someone else who does have goals because they need people to help them achieve their goals, and so you fit the bill. You don't have any goals and you have no aspirations and you're not going anywhere, so they just like take your time and labor and they profit. And so then there's a group of people out there that have goals in their heads. You know, oh, I know why I got one. Well, I can just tell you, goals in your heads are that's a good. You're probably better off than the ones that don't have any goals at all. But when opportunity knocks, you don't
You don't even have,
recognize
yeah,
it.
because you don't even have a plan.
Yeah, and so I have written goals. I look at my written goals
And you reevaluate.
daily in some occasions, but at the beginning of every year, whatever your new year is, I lay out my goals for the year. Like this year, one of our goals is to release 10 new books. That's a goal. And so I'm sitting there today going, okay, I got five
In
of those.
order to do that in December,
I have to take action
what do
now.
we need to do in January so that that happens? And that's how that works.
Yeah,
That's a great example.
It doesn't just happen, and so you can apply that to
Like
everything.
I saw one even recently about seeds. If you haven't gone and gotten your seeds yet, go get your seeds because it's about to be planting time.
Yeah, and
you have to plant now if you want food in June.
Right, and you always assume that the seeds will always be there. Well, maybe
That's
they
not
will, maybe
always
they
true.
won't. Okay, but
And then
the
you go
ones,
there to get pepper plants, and the only ones that are left
the
are the
people that
jalapenos.
succeed, yeah, you're like, get whatever pepper plants the lady brings home. So that's another story altogether. And so 3% have written goals, and the 3% of the people are the ones who wind up in the 5% group.
Yeah.
And so the 95% are working, doing whatever, and the 3% wind up in the 5% level of income. And so what I've realized along the way is I say, oh, okay, find out what the majority of people are doing and do the opposite. And, if you do that, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. And so then once I got myself into the 5% group, I said, well, what are all those people doing? And I did the opposite of that. And you don't have to be a genius. You just have to be able to apply logic to it. There's no magic formula here. You just have to be able to reason your way through it and take what you know and use that. And everybody has some kind of thought or knowledge that they have that other people don't have. And use that to your advantage, okay? And so people with goals own businesses and whatever that is, walking people's dogs, babysitting, washing cars, cutting yards, building houses, putting in air conditioning units.
And you can tell too, like some people just don't want to do businesses.
They just
I
don't
tell
want to.
everybody, I'm like, you need to have a business. And there was this, I remember hearing this one woman once, she was talking, I'm an eavesdropper. It's not on purpose. I just am aware of my surroundings and I hear stuff. And she was talking to this guy, and I had been in the conversation, but then I kind of left. And she was like, "Oh, I just, I can't do it because of this and this and this." And I was like, "If you had your own business, that would solve literally all three of those."
I mean,
And I was like, "Oh no, you get a business, you do this, you do this, you do this." And it's solved that's exactly how you do it. And she was like, no, like.
Well, the thing is most everyone that's watching this, I mean, I'm just going to step out on a ledge and go, they have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay, that cell phone costs them $50 to $100 to $200 a month, depending on what program you're in. I mean, maybe you're one of those fortunate people who has a $10 a month
one. I remember a company brand that I won't mention was like, "Oh, you have our internet. We want you to have the phone service. What do you pay per month?" And I was like, $10. And they were like, $10. I was like, yeah, it's from some rinky-dink place, but it's got good service and I can use it. Well, and they're like, you keep that. We can't give you anything better than $10.
Well, I read this book, Delayed Response one time, and it talked about the earthquake in Japan, and after it was over, everybody with all the smartphones and stuff, man, they couldn't get cell service because the servers were overloaded. And there was this guy walking around with a flip phone, man, texting people, calling people. They're like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I got this sorry phone service, but nobody used, and
Nobody
so the
uses it.
servers are not bogged
Yeah.
down. Hey, can you call my
Yeah.
aunt so and so? Can could you send a text for me? Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. And so his phone, his service working just fine.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's a benefit
Yep.
to that kind of thing, but. Everybody out there has a cell phone. Well, if you own your own business, suddenly, I mean, you're still paying for that cell phone, but it's an expense of
Yep.
business, and it's a deductible expense. And so the thing is the tax laws are written for people on, and that's just
and
one.
they're not loopholes to get out of paying your taxes. The government wants businesses.
Right.
They want you to have a business, and so they have them there to help you build your business.
And they expect that you will eventually make a profit.
Yep. And
if you're just not year after year, you're not making a write off, they go, okay, what you have is a hobby.
Yeah.
That's not a business.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're going to say all of that, and then you got another situation altogether. And so you need to think about, if I'm going to run a business, then I need to run a business. Yeah. But, companies all the time, it doesn't work out. Chapter 8, Chapter 11, Chapter 13, they just file and
I got rid of my business and started a new business.
Yeah, started a new business.
Well, my business, I was doing photography and it was doing great. And then Eleanor was born and I couldn't take a newborn with me to go do photos.
Right.
And so it just kind of was only family members, and I was like, scratch that business, new business.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. You got to think about what kind of business do I want to have? And, if my situation were to change, how would I be impacted? Could I sell that business to someone else? Or, if I liquidated all of my assets, would I at least break even?
Yeah, look at this. Right. Sarah's photography business
is a studio here.
Yeah, from whenever that was, 2020 is now a
What the heck is that?
You popped over to it. Doesn't matter. It's not on the screen.
Oh, okay.
You just click.
Okay. So
now this.
People with goals, when the opportunity knocks, you'll recognize it. An opportunity is one of those things that comes and goes. And you'll be sitting there and kicking yourself, going, "Oh man, I shoulda, coulda, woulda," whatever. And it's because you didn't have a written goal.
And there is times where it's good to think it over. Don't just rush and do stuff. But if you're already planning and thinking and seeing and knowing, then you see it like sales. Oh, I know I need this for the house. I know I want to get my kid this toy, or I know I need a new computer. And you know that. You want me to take it? You know that. You know you need it. And then you see, some company is running a sale now. Well, you already know you need that computer. And so you're able to just get it instead of seeing a week later, it was on sale and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
And you own your own business.
Yeah.
And you buy that computer, that laptop.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not like you're going along and you're like, it's on sale. Let me scrounge up the money. You know ahead of time you need to be setting things aside. You need that. And then when the opportunity hits, you can get it.
Yeah, and so there's a lot here, and we can't possibly cover everything. But
maybe one day we'll be at choices 75.
Well, we're just trying to say, look, this is a step you can take. Yeah. Now there are books out there that are probably better than these books. Okay, I'm just cheap.
They have so many books out there.
So there's lots of people out there.
And that's another thing. If you don't have time to talk to somebody, and you're like, man, that person's successful or doing something, and you're aspiring to be like them, just ask them what are the last 5 books or what are the top 5 books they recommend that you should read. And read that, because reading the books that they're reading kind of steps you into their mind even without having a long conversation with them.
Oh, yeah. If you're in a leadership role or something like that, The Road to Character by Brooks, an awesome book.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be surprised, the people that God can use. You may be thinking that I can never do this, or I can never do that. No. That's just not the case. Okay. I mean, God, he used Moses. I mean, Moses was basically killed an Egyptian. I mean, he used David. God can use you, and God can help you. So,
You gotta get back over there.
I gotta go back over here. All right, so never too late. How do we get there? Now's the time. Time is your most. I mean, we talked about this last time. Implement your plan. Evaluate where you are. Measure, reset, refocus. Never give up. The sales pitch from before. Read your Bible. And
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I had just gone to something recently, and I didn't really have time to chat with everybody. But I was like, I wanted to know more information. I asked everybody they had like 5 little leaders, and I asked each of them what books they recommend that I read, and there was one book that was pretty. I think it was like Think and Grow Rich was one that was pretty common.
Napoleon Hill.
But every single one of the guys, I thought that was really interesting. The girls had like a list of books. But each of the guys, all of them were like the Bible. And then they were like, oh yeah, this book too. But read your Bible.
Yeah, you may be wondering, how does all of this relate to what's in the Bible? We're going to show you here in a few minutes, okay? We're going to get to that point. All right, Matthew 25, King James Version, okay? But I thought what I'd do is I'd go over the past 100 years. And, just to kind of let you see. And so you can see there that in general, the first 5 or 6 decades, from 1925, pretty much stable. I mean, this little area over here on the right.
55 when they switched to.
Yeah, in 1975, in 1964, they started printing non-silver money.
But when did they switch to the petrodollar?
In 1974.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
You see what happened to silver.
And then they were like, oh, look, we can just print money.
And so, but the other aspect of this, and there's a little bit of an anomaly in here that's not really, I mean, if you look at this decade right here, you'll see this was the period of time when you could buy on margin. And so what you could do is I forget what the exact ratio was, but you could put up $10 and get $100 worth of silver. And so the thing is the Hunt brothers realized, you can just promise it to pay. And so they basically almost cornered the market on the silver market, and that's what they drove the price up to like $48. And so what did they do? They changed the rules. And so as soon as they changed the rules, everything come back down. But you can see what's going on here. Back in the 1920s, there was a negative, but everything was pretty much stable, okay? But then you had these 3 or so decades of growth, and then that instability point with the Hunt brothers and whatnot, and then more growth. And so if you're looking at in hindsight, we have another decade of growth in front of us. Now, you can't predict. Past performance is no indication of future performance, but things do have a tendency to repeat.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what time tells us is that when it was real currency that the money was based on, things were a lot more stable. And even though you see the blue line there going up and coming down and going up, the bottom line down there is trending up. Okay, and so that bottom line is the low number. The blue line is the high number. And so regardless.
What is it measuring?
The price of silver.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure because it's not.
Oh yeah, you could probably do this for oil. You could do it for gold. You could do it for platinum. You could do it for all types, copper. I just picked silver because that's the thing we know. But yeah, I probably should have put it on there.
It's okay.
Silver. This is silver prices.
I'll pop one in there.
Yeah, you pop one in there. Okay, so when you look at the parable of the talents, and so basically you're thinking, well, what does that have to do with me, Jimmy? Well, there was this guy, and he was going on travel, and so he gave, his servants, he gave one of them 5 talents, he gave one of them 2, and he gave one of them 1, said, do this, take care of it while I'm gone, I'll be back. And he went away. And when he came back, the one that he gave 5 to, he had doubled, to 10. And he said, man, I'm going to put you in charge of a lot of stuff. And then the other guy, the one with 2, he had doubled to 4. He said, well done, I'm going to put you in charge of some stuff. The other guy's like, man, I know you're a hard master and everything, so I buried mine in the ground. And he said, well, you're evil servant. You should have at least put it in the bank, and I got interest, usury, if you will. I'd at least have that. And so he beat the guy, took away his talent, and gave it to the one with 10. So here, you go do something with it, and then cast him out. Okay. And so the thing is if you had
I know
listened,
I've read that story, like,
if
and I've heard you. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe he did it.
well, I mean,
He didn't do anything.
this is Jesus talking the parable of the talents,
Yeah.
and so the thing is how much is a talent? A talent, you know, the worst case scenario we found was like $200,000. The best case scenario we found was $1 million
Yeah.
gold.
Yeah.
Gold. It wasn't fiat currency. It was real money. And so the thing is, think about that. I mean, this guy took $5 million and invested it
Doubled
and
it.
got 10 million back. His master was a happy person. The guy that took $2 million, invested, got 4 million back. The guy with $1 million didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And so the thing is don't waste your talent. And there's an expectation that you'll do something with your talent. And so, you know, if you had listened to the 11-25-25 presentation at 52, and you'd have taken at least $50 and bought an ounce of silver, you'd now have 100, and you would have doubled.
Yep.
And that's the whole idea behind this. Did you double? You know,
No.
and I can't make predictions about where it's going to go from here, but you know,
And you don't have to go buy silver somewhere fancy. They sell it at, like, I mean,
you
you
go to
can
coin
find,
stores.
yeah, you like a coin dealer, coin store. I don't think.
I was in the lunch line at a place I worked one time, and I gave a lady $1, and she gave me back a quarter, and I looked at it, and it was a silver quarter.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and I realized, oh, the whole register, that the quarters were all silver. Somebody had turned in a roll of silver quarters to the bank.
That's what I've discovered, because there was times that I'd crack open one of pennies, and it was all the ones all wheats, and so I'm like, you know, here's $1.
Yeah, here's 50 cents.
Yeah,
I'll take.
I'll
And so I went
these.
back up there. I said, "They gave me one of them silver quarters. I was giving her $1." She's like, "Yeah." She just handed them to me. "Why do you want these quarters?" I'm like, "They're silver."
They're silver.
You know, I mean, I'm.
People always think I'm weird. It's just like,
you know,
because you can trade it in, you know, I'm giving you $1 for $1's worth of pennies,
Yeah.
but those pennies are worth more.
Right. So you just have to know. You have to recognize
You have to be
those
able to
silver
see.
quarters. People probably been getting them all morning long,
Oh yeah.
and probably just putting them in their pocket. And at the end of the day, they're walking around with a vending machine and just putting them in. You know, so they didn't even know
Or
what
when
they
you
had.
go to the ATM and it's all brand new crisp bills, and you're like, I only needed $20, but now I'm getting 200 because they're all in sequence.
Well, I went to ATM in Huntsville one time, and you punch in $300, you know, and so I put in $300, and the thing gave me $320.
Oh well.
And I went back. I walked in the bank, went up to the teller. I said, I put my got $300 out, and I said it gave me more than it was expected. And she's like, "Well, you'll just have to wait to the end of the day, and we'll count the money that's in the thing, and then we'll give you the money." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. I asked for 300, and it gave me 320." Oh, she's like, "Let me get my manager." And so the manager come in, and they took me over to the side, and I said, "This is what happened." And she's like, "Well, you'll just have to wait till the end of the day." I said, "Ma'am, you don't understand." I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I held the leftover 20 up. You know what she did? Reached out and grabbed it out of my hand. "Thank you for being honest and coming in today." Now the other way, I should have said, "Well, you're just going to have to wait till the end of the day to get your $20." But no, when the situation is reversed, it's a different,
totally different
mode of behavior. And so that actually happened. That's a true story. And so, you know, and I'm not trying to, I just couldn't take the $20.
Oh yeah, it happens.
I couldn't do it.
The worst is when it's a person.
I could have walked off. Y'all.
Oh yeah.
I could have just walked off. You know. So we did this last time, okay? And so the thing is the double rainbow, you know, and the thing is you need to be thinking about what you're doing, setting goals, doing something different than what you're doing now. I mean, because time is getting short. Time is, you know.
What's coming?
What's coming? You know, it's hard to say what's coming. I think we know what's coming. You know, hard times are coming. But in addition to that, winter is coming. Okay, this is our favorite little ending. The thing is you need to be asking yourself, you know, do I want to be locked into a dollar denominated fiat currency system And not that there's anything wrong with that, but do I want to have all my chips in that, or all of my everything in that system, or do I want to be diversified? Do I want to have a little bit of land? Do I want to have a little bit of real estate? Do I want to have a little bit of a few cattle, or horses, or things of that nature? Or do I want to have other commodities?
Well, and even the planning and stuff. I mean, there's things that we did back in September, October, that are now going to be happening in February and March and stuff. Not even money related, just things with farming and stuff that it's like we had to do that then so that we could have it. You can't go and say in February, oh yeah, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we already picked everybody out in September.
Well, I mean, we went to the store. A good example is, how do you preserve wealth? Okay, we went to the store and we bought raspberries. And we brought a freeze dryer.
Man, that's not what I was talking about, but yeah, that's
well, it's the same kind of thing. How do you preserve wealth? We took the raspberries, put them in the freeze dryer, and freeze dried them. And now we got a jar full of little poppers, and they
and we've been eating them now longer than they would have stayed fresh.
Yeah, if we'd had them fresh, the chickens would have eaten them by now,
basically.
Because they would go bad.
Especially raspberries, one of the things they're so good.
Right.
You have to eat them within like 2 days.
So how do you preserve your wealth?
I get off topic.
No,
it's on topic.
you can keep your money in dollars. Do that. Or you could do the equivalent of freeze drying it and put it into some kind of precious metal or something that's going to last. It's going to retain its value.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be worth something. So.
Well, like we said, it doesn't have to be silver, because there's plenty of things out there.
Copper.
I mean, there's even not money. Just even like in farming life, even cows.
Yeah.
I know last year I was talking to people and they're like, he's like, we used to be able to get cows for like $50.
Yeah.
I mean, there's sometimes you could go to the dairy farm and just get for free.
Yeah, pocket money.
Yeah, they're like, we don't even want these guys, you know? And you go to the thing, get them for $50, and now they're $1,000. Yep. Just in the last like 2 or so years.
Yeah, and y'all
going from $50 to $100 cows to $1,000 cows.
I'm not a beef person. I mean, I eat beef occasionally, but I'm more of a poultry. I find it to be healthier for me. But that's a personal choice for you, and I'm not trying to say anything about that. But this summer, beef prices are going to be up there. It's going to step up. Okay, and the thing is
just go get your meat now.
You either invest in your beef prices, in your beef now, or learn to like chicken or some other less expensive type meat. If meat is your thing, some people don't eat it; they don't have to worry about it. But yeah. And so anyway,
winter's coming.
Summer's
coming.
We hope this. We know it's a little long. We hope it's been a benefit. And we hope you enjoy it. And, if you like it, say something in the comments. And, there's more to this than just, what we've covered in the first two. And so we could go over some of that and another, choices, 10 or something if necessary. Oh, Sarah wants to technology.
All we have for you this time, guys. Now let me get back to us.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your patience. And, hey, this is a buffet kind of approach. If you like what you hear, do something. If you don't like it, don't eat it. Don't go there. Don't come to this restaurant anymore. It's okay. It's not a problem for me. No
problem.
Just trying to help.
Anyway, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Between the Pages podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Like, subscribe, follow, share, and comment for more.
Thank you very much.